All right, this is game 5 of Turdz vs. Delial. We're back to closed, so hopefully we can make some fun reads about the hands. Rules are all rules. We're on level 9, somewhat limited deck selection, which if we brought up, if I was playing this, um, I would have card lists open because it is narrow enough. It's right, it's level 9, and there are 10 decks in effect, so that's 11 cards per deck. There are 110 possible cards. Now that might be just too many cards. Like when it's down to like 40 or so cards, you can really like say they play like say Turdz started last game with A4 in 9, right? Like you know he has a double number facing down, right? He's not going to like just bluff that. So, how many cards have a double number facing down right? Like probably not that many. Three, maybe? And so that's just a useful thing to like have open and have in mind. We're not going to be doing that because we're not playing. And when I say I would do that, that probably means I would think I should do that, and then I probably wouldn't. But a truly dedicated player, I think, should. They should have cards open. You could also, like, maybe an easier thing to do would be in advance. Just make a quick list for yourself of all the, like, double numbers in different orientations. Because I think that's the main thing you're going to get reads on. And yeah, just seems a useful thing to have. So Delhi plays a card with no A's on it in 5. This also doesn't have double numbers. It is a very weak level 9, and thus it doesn't give us much information, right? Um, if this was a God, I was listening to some podcast recently, and the hosts were saying right after everything they said, and it really annoyed me. Like every sentence was blah blah blah, right? And I got really bugged by that. Now I just did it. So hopefully I haven't been doing that because it's a tick that happens to personally frustrate me, and I wouldn't want to inflict that on other people. But we see 9864 and 5 because this is not a powerful card. It is not indicative of what Delhi has in his hand. He is likely or than not to have stuff that plays off it. But it's like a poker range thing. If someone does something they would do with any hand, it is not very indicative. If someone does something they would only do with very specific hands, it is very indicative. And like the range of what they can have available narrows quite a lot. Here, this is the kind of card you chuck in 5, whether or not you have good play off it. So, like, sure, there's a decent chance he can hit the 9 or the 8 or maybe play off the 6 or 4, but it is by no means guaranteed. It's the kind of card you want out of your hand. I think Delhi tends to start in 5 and close, though I could be wrong. If he is a known corner starter but went in 5 here, then you'd wonder why he, for instance, played 9864 and 5 rather than, say, 3. We may recall last time he played A744 and 5, and I correctly called that he had at least and probably just one more corner for 7, and he did. He had A854. Here, you could conclude a similar thing, right? You could say he has at least one other card for 7, so he got rid of one of his corners, and he doesn't have more than one other card for 7, because if he did, he'd probably have dropped this in 3 and said, my hand is happy facing that direction. Something like that. But I think the logic is significantly weaker here because A744 is just a much stronger card and a much bigger concession to use than 9864. So I think we have quite limited information about what Delhi has, and I would not have any particular guesses as to how his hand is balanced. I would be neither surprised nor unsurprised if he had another corner for 7. I just think we don't really gain information from this first move. All right. Turdz goes 494A in 9. Now, things that this could tell us if we were still trying to read hands. One thing is if someone plays a card that obviously has a really good square. Like say instead of 494A, this was 449A, right? Then it would have potential to maybe play off the 9 facing up if it landed in 2, and it would have a same wall in 4 And you'd go, that's a pretty big concession. If he's doing that, it's either because it's the only thing that clicked, or because he has other cards he's excited to play in 2 or 4 and doesn't feel it's important to hold on to this one, right? Again, there are moves that give information and moves that do not give much information. This is a card that had really like no play against the card in 5, and thus it is a move that doesn't tell us a lot, except Turdz is saying he has 8. And we have no reason to believe Deli does or doesn't have 8, except odds are he doesn't, but he easily could. Right? It's just one of those things of like, what's the random cards? So here's a question. Let's say you're going to play a standard move here, 1, 2, or 4. Which do you check, or which are you most drawn to, and which are you least drawn to? And let's assume Deli does not have 8. So he wants to organize the game in such a way that he is not the one forced to play an 8 at an inopportune moment. What does that mean? That means he doesn't want Turdz to play in 6 in a way where Deli's natural response is to go in 8. Now, if you go in 1, maybe you have enough combo potential you don't care. But if you go 1 and Turdz goes 6, maybe you can go 4, though the combo chains look like they're bad for you because 4 is likely to be strong to 5, and then Turdz will control a whole lot of the combo chains. So to me, 1 is not very appealing here. Again, I have no idea what the cards are, so it is perfectly possible I'm completely wrong. If you go 2, you're saying if Turdz goes 6, I can just go 3, right? I don't have to go 8. I'm in no rush to go 8, and it also won't look suspicious that I haven't gone 8 because 3 is higher value territory, right? It won't tell Turdz I don't have 8. Turdz still might feel obliged to block 8. If you go 4 and Turdz goes 6, you also aren't going to go 8 immediately. You're going to go 1 or 3. So my instinct, if you don't have 8, is to go in 2 or 4 rather than to go in 1. Now, Deli did go in 1, and Turdz did block 6, and now we're going to see if Deli has it, right? Now, my instinct would be, if I do not have 8, I will go in 2 or 4. If I do have 8, I will go in 1. Deli went in 1, so it's possible, like, that he's playing like my brain works. And in fact, this is indicative he does have 8. For instance, I remember him playing the card 6299 in game 3 of the match, the first game we watched. And that is a card that, for instance, would land very nicely in 8 at this point. So I think there is a decent chance of 8. Also, he has set up a bunch of double numbers. I think 9944 exists. That would be a kind of beautiful card here. It's possible Deli went 1 because it had big setups, not because it was a big reactor to the threat in 8. But without knowing the cards, I can't know if this had big setups, and I can't predict it. But I think if you don't have 8, it's probably, in a general sense, obviously varies with the specific cards, better to go in 2 or 4. And I like how Turdz has handled this. He may easily lose, it's closed second turn. But he said, I'm going to put out an A that you can't set up against because you played 5 and I played 9, and your only setup there is 7, and that's a high, cost move because it just gives up 8 so easily. So you can't have set up against this A. If you don't have it immediately, you will not have it. And then I'm going to try to force you to take it. I'm going to force you to prove you do have it. And I'm going to do so with a card that slides next to 5, so that if I have play against 5, which Turdz is certainly implying he does, or if as play develops I get play against 5, I have a chance to combo this back, even if it all goes wrong. So even if Deli has like the plus wall in 3, that doesn't end the game or anything because there is still combo potential through 5. I really like how Turdz has played this. Now Deli may just have the cards, right? 6299 makes so much sense here. Him going in 1 makes a lot of sense with 6299, setting up that plus, that same in 2. And it is also a card that's really good for 8. On the other hand, he may now be looking for ways, how can I not use that card and save it for later because it's good in 2 and 8? I'm skeptical of that. If you have it, you play 8. The nice thing about playing 8 is you didn't flip 6, so you are not as vulnerable to just getting the cards comboed back. He does go 8, and he did have 8. So given that he had 8, I think it made sense for Deli to go in 1, but I think if he did not have 8, he probably shouldn't go there. Now, I really like Q's for second turn. The big question for first turn. The big question for Turdz, I think, there are sort of 3 ways to play this. There are 2 ways to play this. One is, okay. So one is you go side side, one is you go corner side, and one is you go corner corner. You usually want to go corner side, not side corner, right? If you go in 4 and they go in 7, like why are you going in 3? You just need more captures than that. So there are 3 ways to play it. If you go corner side, the standard way to do it would be to say, I have either 2 or 4. You need to have one of 2 or 4 to do this. Say I have 2. I'm going to go in 7, and when they go in 4, I will go in 2, and that will get back some cards. Now, the better way to do this would be to go in 3, I think, because it can be hard for Deli to go safely in 2. Of course, if Deli has like 9944 there, you go 3, he goes 7, you're just kind of like dead on the spot. But there's just going to be, or you're either guessing a 50-50 or you're dead kind of thing. And Turdz does not think 50-50s go well. My thought, my instinct when you can, is to go in 2 or 4, and when they take the corner next to it, you combo back from the other one. So if you have a card for 4, which there's no reason to believe Turdz has, but if you do have a card for 4, I think you slide in 2 here. And that's kind of the optimal thing to do here. You slide in 2, because if they go 3, comboing through 5 flips anything back, right? This is the optimal version. In fact, you might flip extra stuff, right? If you go 2 and Deli goes 3 flipping 6, oh, you're golden. On the other hand, you probably don't have anything for 4. It's much easier to have something for 2. So they're both just double numbers. It's more that your move and 4 can be comboed back, but that's just a risk you have to take. So if I'm Turdz and I can like choose my remaining cards, I have Eden 449A and just something to stick into that, you know, is weak to at least 1 of 1 or 5 and doesn't flip 5. I don't want to flip 5. So I like to play this side. Corner side is also possible. Corner is just like really difficult to make work. If you play, say, in 3, even if they don't capture you, you're down 6-4. So when you play in the opposite corner, even if you capture 8, you're still just making it 5-5. You just need them to have no captures at any point. So that's really not a good plan. You're really going corner side or side. And I like side, but side requires you to have a card that can slide. If you don't have a card that can slide, you probably have to go corner side. So what did we see here? Turdz did go side, and Deli said, I'm going to block 4. And I think Deli said this knowing he cannot lose, but he can lose this. No, he can't. Not if he has 3. If he has 3 with the combo on 2, he can't lose. So Deli didn't go for, I'm going to play 3 and let you combo in 4. Presumably he didn't have a very good sweeper there. And now we're going to see what Turdz has, because Turdz can't go 3. He's down 6-4. He has to have a card for 7. And he has 2 cards left in his hand, so it's a lot easier to have a card. But it's also easy not to really have a card, right? If he only has a double capture here, Deli wins. He really needs to be able to combo that 5, and that's pretty unlikely, especially given that 548A already came out of his hand. So a nice response from Deli, a somewhat risky one, because if Deli doesn't have a combo in 3, and Turdz can combo through, Turdz will flip 4 cards here and be up 8-2. And Deli, again, unless Deli can do something on that 4 facing right from Ifrit. So Turdz has a card for 7, but not a perfect card. Yeah, I think Deli's going to get this. He does. He didn't have the combo, so he did risk losing here. If Turdz could have played off that 5, But if Deli went 3, he had nothing for 7, or just very weak cards for 7. I wonder what Turd's last card was. But I should be in congratulations mode because this is Deli's second win of the match. Both unclosed, but that's gonna happen. I knocked out Deli in a TTAC, unable to beat him in open, but I got lucky a couple times in closed. Yeah, nicely done. I like Deli's opposite corner play after 5-9. I like going 1, given that he did have 8. And given his last 2 cards, this made a lot of sense. Interesting, he was choosing which card to put in 8, because he actually had 2 cards for 8. But 6-8-5-5 makes sense to hold on to, because that card is 2 as well. Yeah, this all looks really clean from Deli. And as I said, I like how Turdz played this. I think this is just a well-played closed game. And first turn is going to win more of those than not. Maybe first turn is going to win about half, and you'll tie about half, and second turn will win about half. Something like that. Sorry. First turn will win about half, and second turn you'll tie, and second turn will split the remaining half. It's about 50, 25, 25 in closed trade games that I kept track of at the start of the return. So, okay. Deli. Let's look at some leaderboard stuff. Deli just expanding his lead for total number of majors. This is getting ridiculous. Yeah, let's think about where Deli lands, because, obviously Turdz will up some of his numbers, but Deli will up his more, as if he needed them. Sorry, this is taking a moment to load. Some would argue I should have had this ready to go, but, we don't need data. I want the leaderboard. This is publicly available. Like, you can go check this out. It's easy enough to find the link somewhere or other. But most wins, so Deli, I should bring up the bracket as well. You won't be able to see it, but I will bring it up for me so I can comment on Deli's run. I believe he won 4 rounds, so that takes his total number of tournament rounds won to 130, which is double 11th place. That's pretty remarkable. And just really far ahead of the field. Deli's running away with that one. He moves up to 9 championships. For a hot second, Yojimbo and I were tied for first, but Deli has won 3 tournaments? No. Yes. Yes, Deli has now won 3 tournaments in the return. As have I, admitted. Like, I got a bunch of wins here in the return as well to catch up. But Deli now takes 3 to take the most championships lead. 9 versus the next closest at 7. That he's now the same as Seto and Turdz combined is nuts. He goes to clear second in finals. He goes to clear second in semifinals, both times breaking a tie with Seto. He extends his lead for most icons, which is getting ridiculous. He has played the most tournaments ever, but, there are lots of people who, if they'd played the most tournaments ever, they would not have all these records, obviously. His championship rate will break into the top 10. His finals rate, a lot of short timers here, not sure what to make of that. Let's just skip ahead. His win rate for 20 games plus played, he will pass Sujiro and probably Kamikaze. The thing is, when you have such a long run, it's going to include periods where you were really strong and periods where you were not as strong, because no one can maintain, perfect form forever. So what you see on this list is a bunch of relatively short-term players with higher win rates. But if you took, Deli's best run that's the length they played, it would look a lot more comparable. So, when you see a Deli here, or Slash has played a lot of tournaments, Kona, there are a bunch of people here. The more tournaments you've played, the more impressive it is that you've sustained the win rate. Wins per loss is just an alternate way of saying win rate. Distinct tourneys won. Deli is the only player to have won 5 different types of tournaments. I don't think this changes that, because I'm counting this as tour finals, but you could argue this is a 6th, because he has now won, right? He's won both types of tour finals, I think. His achievement, he will finally break Yojimbo's record for the person with the most net achievement being 1,000 points for each title, 500 for each finals, 250 for each semis, and 125 for each quarters. Yeah, I thought Yojimbo's record was going to stand for a while, but Deli really tearing through it. Right, that's another thing he's first in. Uh, do, do, do. Pathetic. He's not good in activity wins at all, which is actually pretty cool that he's played so much and has 2 activity wins. He really tries to get his games done. He will extend his lead in wins versus winners, though I'm not sure. I'm doing that as a category that's primarily open, and most of this tournament was closed. But this is again to say how strong Deli has been in both open and closed formats. So this one, oh no, this will get updated. This includes open and closed wins versus winners, so I'm sure he will increase his lead here, at least by 1. Who did he face in previous rounds? He beat Sachi, Forky, Cliffy, and Turdz. Okay, so he just increases it by 1, but you can see his lead over the field is pretty strong here. I really like this stat in part because it just so clearly identifies the top 4 players of all time and shows that among the rest, things are up in the air. Um, do, do, do. Yeah, this is from a long time ago. I don't really update this one. Deli and Turdz have the most different years they've won an icon. That's cool. Yeah, this is from a long time ago. Not changing now. Yeah, I guess that's probably where we are for Deli. But yeah, just another huge win on a huge resume, and this win total is absolutely ridiculous. He'll also probably break 90 in my Hall of Fame stat. Yeah, congrats to Deli, great job. I really liked how he played this. I think that last game, the game before this, if you watch that video, was a really tricky save that he went for. And maybe we can, as the last thing, I'm going to bring up the solver on that game and take a peek at whether I think what he did was sound, but whether it was both sound and the right way to grab the tie there. This will take me a second to input as I type out the hands. But a creative tie, well, you'll see the move order in a moment if you haven't seen that game. But I think that was a game that, if he loses that game, the match is tied, right? A game that was a really important hold, even if this had happened anyway, he does end up winning this finals 2-0. But obviously would have felt scarier. I think I finished inputting that. Also, congrats to Turdz, obviously, but I've just done a bunch of stuff about Turdz, so gotta try to focus on different people. Let's flip over to the solver. Where's the button? There you go. All right. So Turdz went here, and you can see he has really nice recaptures, and Deli has like no way to attack it well, right? Lots of stuff he can do. Is very vulnerable to combos. I just clicked the wrong button, so it's going to take a sec and play the optimal move. But Deli goes here, and it'll tell me shortly whether this holds or loses, but it looks like it probably holds. Turdz plays an 8, which I thought was the very natural reply, and now I think Deli has a difficult position. Solver says lots of ties, but I think it's one of those ones where like the ties can be hard to differentiate. Like which moves in 4 lose and which moves tie. Turns out most of them tie, only 8-3, 8-5, and 4 loses. But I think this is non-trivial to figure out. Deli ends up playing in 2, which was a creative move that I dismissed. But yeah, it does work. Nice. Turdz goes 5. I expected Deli to play 7-8-7-4 in 4. Now to find out that my move loses. No, my move ties, but Deli's move also ties, and it's a little trickier because Turdz can go deeply astray walking into this kind of combo thing. So I guess that's just a tie anyway. But a trickier move, neat move, walking into combo potential, but all working out in the end. And how did this game end? This, I think. All right. I think that's all I got for you. Congrats to Delial for another tournament victory. He's getting too many of them. We gotta stop this somehow. Not quite sure how. We'll figure something out. All right. Congrats, Deli.